did enter a plea of not guilty for Cerna and said the court will proceed with this trial despite that ongoing appeal filed by his defense.
Slugs, rounds.
Handcuffed and shackled inside Marion County's jail. He claims he's been treated for his mental health before, but wanted more serious attention paid to it.
Can you believe those seemingly innocent kids once committed such horrifying crimes, shooting their teachers and friends? It's hard to imagine that behind their familiar faces lies the capacity for such violence. But for some, that's precisely the terrifying truth. Let's start with our first case, Salvador Ramos, the individual responsible for the tragic shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. On May 24, 2022, Ramos, just 18 years old, expressed terror in the small community when he entered the school armed with an AR-15 style rifle. Before arriving at the school, he had shot his grandmother in the face during a domestic dispute, leaving her critically injured.
This newspaper that published the leaked Uvalde school video is facing intense backlash today. The footage shows the shooter entering the school and police waiting 77 minutes before taking him down.
Ramos drove to Robb Elementary and crashed his vehicle near the school. He approached the building and began firing at nearby individuals before entering through a door that was supposed to be locked, but wasn't. Once inside, he moved into two connected classrooms filled with students and teachers. The chaos began around 11:30 a.m., and within minutes, he had fired over 100 rounds.
As the killer crashes his car outside the school. 3 minutes later,
As the horrifying events continued, law enforcement arrived, but failed to act decisively. Officers were present in the hallways, but did not confront Ramos for over an hour while he continued his attack. The delay in response has been widely criticized. Reports indicated that police officers hesitated to enter due to fears of being shot by Ramos's powerful weapon. Inside the classrooms, teachers and students were left helpless as Ramos fired indiscriminately.
New details about the teenager who carried out the Texas massacre. 18-year-old Salvador Ramos posted messages on social media hinting about his evil plans. Wait till tomorrow when this warning and this. Kids be scared, along with photos of 2 assault rifles and a high-capacity magazine. The morning of the massacre, he sent this text to a young woman he knew. "You gonna repost my gun pics?" She answered, "What your guns got to do with me?" He replied, "I got a little secret I want to tell you." Texas Governor Greg Abbott revealed 3 chilling Facebook posts.
He said, "I'm going to shoot my grandmother." The second post was, "I shot my grandmother." The third post, maybe less than 15 minutes before arriving at the school, was, "I'm going to shoot an elementary school."
The police chief of the Uvalde School District, Pete Arredondo, was among those who responded, but did not assume command of the situation. He later claimed he did not believe he was in charge, which led to confusion among responding officers. Meanwhile, desperate calls for help were made inside the classrooms as terrified students and teachers sought assistance.
So stereotypical of the attributes.
Documents show other red flags were also ignored. We obtained copies of FBI interviews with people who knew the shooter. Their reports were alarming, carrying around a dead cat, threatening graphic violence, telling friends they'd be seeing him in...
After more than an hour of waiting, members of a Border Patrol tactical team finally breached the classroom doors and confronted Ramos, fatally shooting him. By that time, 19 children and 2 teachers had lost their lives in what became one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. The case against Ramos has flared nationwide outrage and discussions about gun control and school safety. Investigations revealed systemic failures in law enforcement's response that day, leading to calls for accountability among local police and school officials. Wrap up of this case.
He's accused of trying to kill a student on board of a school bus. Prosecutors say that he pointed a gun and pulled the trigger, but the gun jammed multiple times. In that case, Baby K is being tried as an adult, but in the district, he is wanted on a murder charge as a juvenile.
On number 2, we have the case of Baby K, a boy famous for his rapping who knows he will commit such a horrific crime. Caden Holland, at just 15 years old, made headlines for his shocking actions on May 1, 2023, when he attempted to murder a fellow student on a school bus in Prince George's County, Maryland. The incident evolved while the bus was stopped in Oxon Hill to drop off students. Holland, along with 2 accomplices, boarded the bus wearing masks and targeted a 14-year-old boy.
To be able to extradite him. Now, the victim killed in this in D.C. is 23-year-old.
Holland pulled out a gun and pointed it directly at the victim's head. In a terrifying moment captured on surveillance video, he pulled the trigger 3 times, but each time the gun malfunctioned and failed to fire. Despite the gun jams, he did not relent. He pistol-whipped the boy and continued to threaten him. The chaos escalated as Holland also pointed the weapon at the bus driver and aide before fleeing with his accomplices.
Takes advantage of the services that are being offered or that will be offered, that he has a chance to turn his life around. But the reality is, the juvenile system has not worked for him. It hasn't. And so we have to try something else. And we have to try something that will not only help him, but also protect the residents.
After the attack, police found live ammunition on the bus, which further confirmed the severity of Holland's intentions. It took weeks for law enforcement to arrest him, but eventually, U.S. Marshals arrested Holland. He was charged as an adult due to the violent nature of his crime.
Times last May when prosecutors say Caden Holland tried to shoot a student on a school bus. He and 2 others stormed that bus. They also allegedly kicked and hit the victim. Prosecutors are recommending Holland serve his sentence at the Patuxent Institution, citing the therapy and counseling programs available. At the plea hearing today, a union president representing educational support staff says this case highlights concerns shared by school staff and workers. He has been in contact with the bus driver who witnessed the attempted shooting.
This is a monumental problem, and it's going to require monumental decisions. One of the things that need to be looked at is there is a student rights handbook, and we need to really take a deep dive into these recommendations or these rules that have been made up and make sure that the students are actually being held accountable. If need be, do we need to extend that and actually hold the parents accountable as well?
The case was heard in Prince George's County Circuit Court, where prosecutors presented evidence of Holland's premeditated attack. In March 2024, he pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree murder and use of a handgun during a crime of violence. During sentencing, Judge Aisha Braveboy emphasized the need for accountability for such horrific actions. On April 21, 2024, Holland was sentenced to 25 years as part of a plea deal that suspended a longer sentence. Ready for the next one?
Slugs, rounds.
Handcuffed and shackled inside Marion County's jail. He claims he's been treated for his mental health before, but wanted more serious attention paid to.
Let's start with number 3. And one thing I must say is that we should never underestimate that mental problems must be treated right. Sky Boucher, a teenager, shocked the community with his actions at Forest High School in Ocala, Florida.
All right. Good morning. Are you Sky Boucher?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boucher, we're here this morning for what we call a first appearance. I'm not here to talk to you about the merits or the substance of the case. I'm here to determine whether or not there is probable cause to hold you on the charges that have been made. I'm here to see about getting you some representation by an attorney, discuss your bond status, and get your next court date for you. We're not going to talk about your case. I'm going to suggest that you not make any statements other than in responses to any questions that I may have. everything that we're doing here is being recorded. There is a prosecutor over here, someone, an attorney here that here in case you need to consult for any reason. And anything that you say could be used against you in future proceedings. So I would advise you not to make any statements other than the statements that are made in response to questions that I may have.
On April 20th, 2018, Boucher, then 19 years old, entered his former school armed with a sawed-off shotgun hidden inside a guitar case. The day was meant to be a peaceful protest against gun violence, coinciding with a nationwide school walkout. Instead, it turned into a terrifying scene. As students were going about their day, Boucher approached the school and fired through a locked classroom door. The shot struck a 17-year-old student in the ankle, causing severe injury, but thankfully not life-threatening harm. Immediately after the shooting, Boucher dropped the gun and surrendered to law enforcement officers, who quickly arrived on the scene. When questioned by deputies, he expressed feelings of being ignored and stated that he wanted to go to jail. He mentioned that he had researched church shootings and believed they received less media attention compared to school shootings. This misguided rationale led him to act violently that day.
Scare them. I want to be put away, or I can't hurt anybody.
He did bring fear to Forest High and the rest of the community, and the single shot he did fire into a door left a 17-year-old boy with a wounded foot.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel that you should have had a gun?
Boucher was charged with multiple offenses, including terrorism and ruffled assault with a firearm. Initially pleading not guilty, he later changed his plea to no contest as jury selection was about to begin. The case was heard in Marion County Circuit Court, where prosecutors presented evidence of his intended action.
In the event that you are released at some point in the future on some kind of bond, a condition of that, a special condition of that pretrial release, if it occurs, would be that you would need to comply with the terms and conditions of the risk protection order. Right? Good luck.
Judge Lisa Herndon presided over the trial and ultimately sentenced Boucher to 30 years. After serving at least 25 years of his sentence, he will be placed on probation for 30 years. And that's how it all went.
Granados Diaz was arraigned on several charges. Our Lisa Balick was in court and joins us.
Another case, and another person who omitted crime just because of mental issues. Angel Granados Diaz, a teenager who made headlines when he brought a loaded shotgun into Park Rose High School in Portland, Oregon.
Video just into the newsroom shows a powerful moment. A coach embraces a student who he just disarmed. That team brought a rifle into Park Rose High School back in May, and this is our first look at how this came to a peaceful end.
On May 17, 2019, on his 19th birthday, Granados Diaz entered the school with a troubling plan. He had been struggling with mental health issues and had consumed alcohol that morning, leading him to decide he would take his own life at school, believing it would spare his family from finding him at home.
Second, I analyzed everything really fast. I saw the look in his face, look in his eyes, looked at the gun. I realized it was a real gun, and then my instincts just took over.
A gun grab ending in an emotional embrace. For the first time, we're getting an inside look at the moments Coach Keenan Lowe, a security guard at Park Rose High School, confronted a student armed and in crisis.
I can see him coming into the room with just a gun in his hand. It was terrifying. It was truly terrifying.
We all hid. We hid like under clothes and stuff too, just in case anything would happen.
Students that day scared. Parents realizing their worst fears as the school went into lockdown.
None of us knew if we were going to make it out alive.
But everyone made it out safely, and now we're seeing just how incredibly timed it all was. Coach Lowe had been called to the Fine Arts building to get a student. What he didn't know was that just moments before, that student, Angel Granados Diaz, snuck a shotgun inside. The two almost meeting in the hallway.
I walk in there, I get to the classroom, I ask the teacher, is the student here?
He was just steps behind.
He carried the shotgun in a guitar case and walked into the school just before noon. Once inside, he moved to a classroom where he intended to end his life. However, his actions were interrupted by Parkrose High School football coach Keenan Lowe, who confronted him and managed to disarm him without anyone getting hurt. Lowe's quick thinking and bravery were praised as heroic, preventing what could have been a tragic shooting.
Say Angel Granados Diaz took the firearm into Parkrose High School on May 17th. The school football coach tackled him. Granados Diaz entered guilty pleas to a pair of gun charges, one a felony, the other a misdemeanor. His lawyer said he was drunk. Granados Diaz will not serve time, but will spend 3 years on probation and receive mental health and substance abuse treatment.
After the incident, Granados Diaz was arrested and charged with multiple offenses, including possession of a firearm in a public building. He was taken to Multnomah County Circuit Court, where Judge Kathleen Daly heard his case. In court, both the prosecution and defense highlighted that this was not an attempted school shooting, but rather a mental health crisis.
Went yesterday, but his hearing was postponed because his attorney was not able to attend. Elise Haas has been covering the story since it happened. She joins us now live with new information on the charges Granados.
On June 27, 2019, Granados Diaz pleaded guilty to one felony charge of possessing a firearm in a public building and one misdemeanor charge of possessing a loaded firearm in a public place. As part of his plea agreement, he was sentenced to 36 months of probation and required to undergo mental health treatment and substance abuse counseling. Additionally, he was ordered to complete community service and prohibited from owning firearms or entering Parkrose High School. The judge expressed concern for Granados Diaz's well-being and acknowledged the impact of mental health issues on young people today. Here, it comes to an end.
Did enter a plea of not guilty for Cerna and said the court will proceed with this trial despite that ongoing appeal filed by his defense. Now, the judge also set a bail at $1 million that would have to be paid in full, unlike last time where he could have posted 10% for Cerna to go into house arrest. Now, Judge Nick Salvigo made a point this afternoon saying he wants this jury trial to start and conclude before the beginning.
Our fifth case is the story of Ely Cerna. Ely Cerna, a teenager whose actions at West Liberty Salem High School in Ohio shocked a community. On January 20th, 2017, Cerna, then 17 years old, entered the school armed with a 12-gauge shotgun hidden in his backpack. As classes began, he made his way to a school bathroom, where he assembled the weapon and prepared for what would become a terrifying incident.
Payne County judge ruled 17-year-old Eli Cerna competent to stand trial. Deputies say Cerna critically hurt Logan Cole and hurt another student when he participated in a shooting in January. A hearing to determine if Cerna will be tried as a juvenile or an adult.
Once he was ready, Cerna opened fire, shooting 16-year-old Logan Cole in the chest. The chaos erupted as students and staff realized what was happening. Cerna then fired at a teacher who rushed to the scene, but missed. He continued down the hallway, shooting into classrooms and injuring another student, before staff members managed to suppress him and hold him until police arrived.
At the time of the shooting and showed remorse. They also believed the judge did not.
The aftermath of the shooting was immediate. Logan Cole suffered critical injuries and was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked to save his life. He survived, but still carries lead bullets as a reminder of that day. The school quickly went into lockdown, and law enforcement arrived to secure the area.
Associated with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Prosecutors advocated for the maximum sentence since they say Cerna carefully planned the shooting and was able to determine right from wrong. They also argued the severity of the crime and the number of people impacted by the shooting also called for the toughest penalty. Victim Logan Cole addressed the shooter.
I would like you to know, though, that I've forgiven you for what you did to me in our school. I also want you to know that I believe there is a difference between forgiveness and justice.
Defense attorneys argued against a lengthy sentence due to Cerna's diagnosis of severe depression. The judge said while he believes Cerna showed genuine remorse, that doesn't take away from Cerna's inconsistencies to law enforcement and mental health professionals and the seriousness of the crime.
The court finds that the victims closest to the shooting incident included 398 middle school and high school aged children, 168 of whom felt compelled to break and exit through classroom windows.
Eli Cerna was charged with multiple offenses, including attempted murder and criminal assault. His case was brought before Champaign County Circuit Court, where Judge Nick Salvaggio presided over the proceedings. Initially, Cerna pleaded not guilty because of insanity, but as the trial approached, he changed his plea to guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. On May 2, 2018, Judge Salvaggio sentenced Cerna to 23.5 years in prison, the maximum sentence for his charges. During sentencing, he expressed no specific motive, stating he wasn't angry at anyone. Prosecutor Kevin Talabi argued that despite any mental health issues Cerna faced, he understood that his actions were wrong and deserved a harsh punishment.
About to lose him at home and to know that he's not going to be there every day, but we are just absolutely excited that he chose to come to Cedarville.
High school shooting victim Logan Cole is starting a new chapter in his recovery. He's moved into his freshman year of college.
Defense attorney Dennis Lieberman highlighted Cerna's mental health struggles and argued that he believed he was following orders from a deity when he opened fire. Despite this defense, the judge emphasized the severity of the crime and its impact on victims like Logan Cole. Here, we wrap up this case. For school shooters, hearing a life sentence seals their fate. No turning back, no second chances. Some express regret, others remain cold. But in the end, the reality of life behind bars sinks in.